Western Iran, 48 kilometers south of Tabriz, 3:27 in the morning. 88 U.S. Army Rangers from the 75th Ranger Regiment were moving into attack positions around an Iranian Mountain Missile bunker cut into Kuh-e-Sabalan. Inside the rock, 276 Iranian forces guarded 18 launch bays, 12 missile repair cells, and the control floor, bringing a damaged strike network back online. The Rangers had 2 hours and 8 minutes to stop the bunker before repairs were finished. The bunker mattered because Iranian forces were rebuilding a missile site that had already been hit once and partly restored. If the site came back online, Iranian forces could push missiles toward U.S. bases and shipping routes fast. The mountain gave the bunker thick cover and short warning lanes. 3 tunnel mouths opened on separate slopes. 2 repair halls sat behind blast walls near the lower road. 2 Zu-23-2 anti-aircraft guns, 3 DSHK heavy machine guns, 9 PKM machine gun nests, and 6 mine belts protected the approaches. 1 buried server room kept backup launch files for 32 missiles. Iranian forces believed no ground force could enter a live repair zone, seize the control floor, and wreck the site again before reinforcements reached the mountain from Tabriz. Alpha Element had 24 Rangers. They would cut the west service gate, kill the power, and open the lower cable corridor. Bravo Element had 20 Rangers. They would climb the east ridge, destroy the upper gun crews, and cut radar and satellite links. Charlie Element had 26 Rangers. They would breach the south tunnel, drive into the control level, and seize the launch command floor. Delta Element had 18 Rangers. They would block the access road, stop reinforcements, cover extraction, and hold the outer ring with 2 M24 OB machine guns, 1 Mk-19 grenade launcher, and 1 Javelin missile team. At 3:30, the assault began. Alpha cut the first fence with det cord. Bravo fired 2 shots from Mk-11 Mod 0 rifles and dropped the east tower crew. Charlie placed a linear charge on the south tunnel wall and blew a man-sized hole through it. And right here, you already know this operation is about to go completely off the rails. So hit like, drop a comment, and tell me this. Which breach changes the whole fight first? The tower drop, the fence cut, or Charlie blowing open that tunnel wall? And if you're not subscribed yet, this is exactly the kind of high-stakes mission breakdown you don't want to miss. Now back to the assault. And Delta opened on the road checkpoint with suppressed M4A1 SOP-MOD, 2 carbines, and a short burst from a Mk-48 Mod 0. The first 10 Iranian forces on the outer line saw attacks from 3 directions at once. Sirens started 15 seconds later. By then, Alpha had the gatehouse, Bravo had the upper path, Charlie had the tunnel mouth, and Delta had the lower road blocked by burning wreckage. 2 pickup trucks tried to leave the repair yard and reach the switchback road. Delta hit the first truck with the Javelin missile. The second driver turned hard and slammed into a concrete wall. At 3:34, Alpha hit the West Service Hall. A PKM machine gun opened from a sandbag slot near the generator room. 2 Rangers fired M249 SAW burst low. A 3rd Ranger slid forward with C4 on a hook line. The charge struck the slit and detonated. The Alpha rushed through and killed the gun team with Mk-18 CQBR fire. On the east side, Bravo climbed iron steps cut into the rock. A DSHK fired down the stairwell. A Ranger raised a Carl Gustaf M3 and fired 1 high-explosive round into the gun pit. The DSHK stopped. Iranian forces had more men, fixed guns, and heavy doors. The U.S. Army Rangers had speed, surprise, and exact tasks. Charlie moved inside the south tunnel in 2 files. The first bend held 8 Iranian forces behind oil drums and wire. A K-74 fire hit the walls. Charlie answered with M4A1 SOP-MOD 2 and Mk-18 CQBR fire, then rolled a shaped charge onto the wire knot. The blast tore open the barrier. Charlie pushed through before the smoke cleared. Alpha reached the power room and found 5 Iranian forces trying to start backup generators. The Rangers killed 3. You wounded 1 and captured 1. Thermite grenades went onto the control panels. Power to the west side died. Emergency lights came on red across the lower halls. At 3:38, Iranian forces on the command floor understood. The main radio operator called 2 barracks compounds, 1 fuel section, and 1 reserve platoon outside the mountain. But Bravo had already reached the comms shelf above the bunker. The Rangers shot 3 guards, smashed 2 microwave dishes, and placed thermite on 4 satellite terminals. The links went dead. Inside, Charlie reached the first blast door. It was sealed from the other side. A breacher placed a shaped charge on the locking bar and detonated it. The door blew inward. Charlie entered a repair store stacked with missile batteries, control panels, cable reels, and boxed guidance parts. 3 Iranian forces fired RPG-7 rockets down the aisle. 1 rocket smashed into a rack and sprayed metal across the floor. A Ranger with a Mk-48 Mod 0 cut the aisle with a hard burst. Charlie crossed left, then right, then center. When the firing stopped, the repair store belonged to the U.S. Army Rangers. 12 minutes into the operation, the defense turned organized. 32 Iranian forces came down the north stairwell toward Charlie. 16 more pushed from the repair yard side toward Alpha. Alpha solved that by killing the generators fully. 1 Ranger used date cord on the cable trench. Another used thermite on the fuel pumps. The backup system died. Ventilation slowed. Bravo used that moment to clear the upper terrace with M4A1 SOP Mod 2 fire and pull 1 ZU-23-2 off its mount with a chain. Yet the gun crashed down the slope and broke apart on the rocks. At 3:42, Charlie hit the north stairwell while Alpha drove east from the power level. Iranian forces tried to hold the landing with 2 PKM machine guns and 1 RPG-17. Charlie stayed low. A Ranger fired an AT-4 into the sandbagged corner. The blast broke the first gun. Alpha reached the side door and wrapped C4 around the hinges. The metal peeled away. U.S. Army Rangers came through both openings at once. The landing changed hands in less than 20 seconds. 18 Iranian forces were left there, dead or wounded. The Rangers pulled 2 wounded men back, moved deeper. Delta saw headlights coming from the north track. 7 pickup trucks and 1 cargo truck were racing toward the mountain. Iranian forces inside the bunker had lasted long enough to call help, yet Delta let the convoy enter the kill zone. Then the M24 OB machine guns opened from both flanks. The Mk-19 grenade launcher hit the lead truck with 3 fast rounds. The cargo truck tried to turn. A second burst from the Mk-19 hit the cab and set it on fire. 17 Iranian forces got out and ran into the rocks. Delta cut them down with M4, A1SOPMOD-2 fire and held the road. That stand kept the bunker isolated for the next 24 minutes. At 3:46, Bravo held the high ground while Charlie drove for the command floor. Iranian forces still had 1 DSHK covering the inner junction and 2 PKM teams farther below. Charlie tried the center hallway and took fire at once. 1 Ranger dropped flat. Another pulled him back by his plate carrier. The point man slapped a linear charge along the right wall. The blast punched a bypass hole. Charlie went through the wall, came out behind the DSHK, and killed the crew with Mk-18 CQBR fire. That move opened the last straight route to the control room. By 3:50, Iranian forces inside the lower level were split and cut off. The west side had no power. The upper shelf had no comms. The road had no access. But the control floor still held the mission systems. If those consoles survived, the raid could still fail. Charlie reached a steel security cage outside the command room. 14 Iranian forces were inside with AK-74 rifles and body armor stacked over the console line as cover. Charlie fired through the cage, then cut it with a thermal torch. Alpha came in from the left corridor at the same time. The defenders tried to pivot. They were too late. The Rangers crossed the room in 10 seconds. 2 men put thermite on the server rack. As 2 more covered the far door, another team seized hard drives, targeting tablets, repair logs, and coded launch keys. A hidden tunnel from the crest ran back into the control floor. Iranian forces used it for a counterattack with 24 men, 1 PKM, and 3 RPG-7 launchers. Bravo heard movement first, then rockets. The first RPG hit the terrace wall. The second flew wide into the dark. Bravo answered with M249S AW fire and a Carl Gustav M3 round aimed at the tunnel mouth. The blast shut the passage with rock and dust. 7 Iranian forces died in the choke point. The rest fell back. Bravo used the pause to destroy the radar repeater and mark the fuel yard. At 3:54, 1 AGM 114, Hellfire hit the fuel yard on the north face. The missile struck between 2 tanker trailers and the pump shed. The fireball lasted 4 seconds. Fuel lines burned out, while 5 trucks were lost. The reserve squad forming near the yard scattered and never made a second organized push. That hit sealed the outer ring around the objective. Inside the mountain, Iranian forces were now fighting room to room with no outside support, no fuel flow, and no working command net. 27 minutes into the assault, Charlie found the missile repair hall and launch junction. 18 launch bays were linked there by 2 rail corridors and 1 lift shaft. 8 repair directors stood fueled and ready. 10 more were scattered across repair stands, with panels off and cables hanging loose. Iranian forces tried one last local stand there. 30 defenders used benches, tool crates, and a forklift as cover. Charlie hit the left side with Mk-48 Mod 0 fire. Alpha hit the right with M4A1S OPM-OD2 and Mk-18C QBR bursts. Yes, a Ranger fired a Carl Gustav M3 round into the forklift. The blast flipped it onto its side and broke the center of the defense. 3 Rangers rushed the near catwalk. 2 more dropped to the floor and cleared under the rails. The junction was secured 4 minutes later. At 3:58, the launch system had to be denied. The repair lines had to be ruined. The data had to be seized. All 18 bays had to be wrecked beyond quick repair. Charlie put thermite on the guidance trunks. Alpha wrapped C4 on the rail switches. Bravo came down from the crest and took over security on the upper catwalks. Delta sent 6 Rangers forward from the roadblock to help carry captured gear out through the south tunnel. Iranian forces still fired from 2 sealed side rooms. Charlie put shaped charges on both doors. The blasts opened the rooms. 10 defenders staggered out through smoke and gave up. That ended organized resistance below ground. The final pocket formed near the east medical alcove. It held 19 Iranian forces, 1 PKM, and 2 RPG-7 gunners. They tried to cover a retreat route toward the crest shaft. Bravo pinned them from above. Alpha moved along the wall. Charlie pushed center. The PKM fired until a Ranger with a Mk-11 Mod 0 shot the gunner through the slot. 1 RPG fired and hit a concrete pillar. The second gunner tried to reload. A Ranger dropped him with a short Mk-18C QBR burst. By 4:02, the last pocket was crushed. 14 Iranian forces lay dead there. 5 more were wounded and captured. The bunker was no longer a repair site. It was a broken shell under U.S. Army control. The objective was fully seized at 4:05. The Rangers captured 10 intact guidance drives, 6 encrypted target tablets, 2 coded firing servers, and 1 signal book linking the bunker to 4 launch units. All 18 launch bays were wired for destruction. 8 repair directors were disabled in place. 6 damaged directors were stripped for intelligence. 4 were burned where they stood. 12 missile control racks were stacked in 2 side rooms. The Rangers set thermite on 8 and seized 4. The command consoles were smashed, burned, and stripped. 1 ZU-23-2 gun, 3 DSHK guns, 14 PKM machine guns, and 42 AK-74 rifles were either captured or destroyed. At 4:09, the demolition phase began. Alpha checked every charge twice. Bravo watched the crest for late arrivals. Charlie packed the seized drives, map boards, and code books. Delta pushed prisoners and wounded toward the extraction slope. A second convoy of Iranian forces appeared on the North Road at 4:14. It was too late. Delta hit the lead truck with the Mk-19 grenade launcher. The rest of the convoy stopped outside effective range and fired blindly uphill. None of those rounds changed the result inside the mountain. At 4:18, the demolition net fired. All 18 launch bays blew apart in sequence. The rail corridors collapsed. The repair hall roof sagged. The control floor burned. Thick smoke pushed from all 3 tunnel mouths. The Rangers withdrew by bounds for 36 minutes. Bravo came off the crest first with 2 wounded men on litters. Charlie followed with the captured server cases and 4 missile guidance units tagged for exploitation. Alpha left last from the power level. After firing the final charges on the cable trench, Delta held the road until 4:33, then broke contact in 3 covered moves. Iranian reinforcements reached the lower bend at 4:38 and found wrecked trucks, dead radios, and a mountain bunker on fire. They were too late to save the bunker. U.S. Army Rangers lost 4 killed and 12 wounded. Iranian forces lost 87 killed, 61 wounded, and 34 captured. The Rangers destroyed 18 launch bays, 12 missile control racks, 8 repair directors, 5 trucks, 2 fuel trailers, 4 satellite terminals, 1 radar repeater, 1 ZU-23-2 gun, and 3 DSHK guns. The underground control center, repair hall, and power system were wrecked. Total equipment and facility losses reached $63.2 million. Iran believed the mountain missile bunker could come back online, survive another raid, and keep feeding missile strikes into the region. What actually happened was 88 U.S. Army Rangers cut its power, killed its links, seized its codes, and wrecked its repair line before dawn. Iranian forces had rock, blast walls, guns, mines, repair crews, and 276 defenders. What they did not have was 88 U.S. Army Rangers willing to tear open a mountain and shut the bunker down again.